Hey everyone, this is Margaret, and I'm going to talk about the top 10 reasons not to move to Louisville, Kentucky. And I know that seems counterintuitive, but I want to warn you about things that maybe if they're just something you don't like or can't deal with, then maybe you don't want to move here. And if you could deal with them, at least you kind of be on the lookout for them. So my top 10 reasons to not to move to Louisville start with number one, basketball. If you are not a college basketball fan, if you're not a college basketball fan, you will not be happy from December to March Madness. It is nothing but basketball. It dominates the news. It's sometimes we actually have, because we have the Yum Center here, so we will host tournaments sometimes in Louisville, and it does change the dynamic of the town. It increases traffic. Some, of course, brings a lot of money for tourism. But if you are a basketball fan, then you will love it. There's a big rivalry, of course, between Louisville and UK, University of Kentucky, which is 70 miles up the road in Lexington. We are, of course, just across the river from Indiana. Indiana University used to be a big deal, so that's about an hour and a half away. So we are kind of in the epicenter of a lot of college basketball, being where we are located in the United States. So that is my number one. Number two would be the public school system has its challenges. And it has its challenges because of low teachers. There were short teachers. There's parents that just aren't as interested in their kids' education, probably not providing some of the guidance that they need at home, things like that make it rough on those teachers. The teachers are definitely underappreciated, underpaid, undervalued. They put up with a lot. So you have a very strong private school system here, mostly dominated by the Catholic school system, but with a few other ones like KCD, collegiate, things like that. So you just want to be careful. Now they are working on it, of course. They are pouring money into it. They're building more schools. They renovate every year. There's those things, but you just want to be wary. Maybe try to get your kid into one of the magnet schools if you're going to go the public route. Okay. So moving on, number three, if you are not a horse lover, not for you. Horses are kind of everywhere. They literally have these Gallapalooza horses all over town. So you can sponsor them. They'll be outside people's businesses, sometimes people's homes. We've moved with my moving company. We've moved quite a few over the years, and some are made very heavy and some are made very light, depending on what material they're made out of. But I digress. So horse is a big thing. Obviously, the Kentucky Derby is a big deal. Every now and then we have the Breeders' Cup. So horses do dominate come Derby time. The whole few weeks before Derby is nothing but Derby activities, Derby traffic. Some people who aren't into that, they take their vacations during that time. They just don't want to be part of the madness. So if you're not into the horse culture, this is, you probably want to not hang out with those people. Some people now that do love them, they will live either on farms, out in the county, a little further out. Some people board their horses and then live close by those properties. So those are the places that people, migrate towards or away from, depending on what their preferences. So before I go any further, because that was number three, my name is Margaret Weathers, and I'm with Coldwell Banker McMahon, and I would love to be able to help you find your next home. And I believe it's not always about a price point, it's about a lifestyle. That's my belief. And if you're a person who wants to come out of the house and go running, then let me find you a place on one of our 120 parks. 120, a lot of parks. And believe it or not, and they're gorgeous. Some of them are hundreds of acres, within the city, which is so cool. So you can step outside your door and be in the park, but yet you're in the city limits of Louisville. So that's pretty cool, I think. So I always ask, if you like what I tell you, like the information I share, as hack as I may be, please like, share, comment, and give me a call, and 502-664-9971, again, 502-664-9971. And I'll move on to number four, and that would be the humidity. The humidity is brutal in the summer. It is something that I had never experienced before. And I'm from northern Wisconsin. So when people up there would say the humidity, I now laugh very vehemently because they have no clue what humidity is. Ohio Valley has a lot of humidity. In July and August, I don't even bother straightening my hair because it's naturally curly. You can't tell that right now, but it's very naturally curly. And in the summer, it's almost impossible to keep it straight. The humidity is so strong. The first 2 years I lived here, I didn't even go outside. I mean, I went from car to house, house to car, because it was just so unbearable for me being, a fat girl from northern Wisconsin. So if you're averse to humidity, yeah, you might want to think about it. For 5 would be allergies. I do not have them, praise God. Although my dad, when he came to visit me, he has passed away now, but when he would come to visit me, he noticed an increased market uptick in his allergy symptoms. So, and now we believe my daughter's going through the allergy testing and such right now, and she may have asthma. So it is really bad for the pollen, and I don't really follow all that because it's never affected me directly. But I do see that it is part of the conversation on our news every night, especially, of course, in the warmer months, not so much in the winter, but it's still part of the conversation. Moving on to number 6, my number 6 reason that you may not like Louisville would be we do have the river and therefore flooding. So if there is a lot of rain and the ground is already saturated and cannot absorb it anymore, everything runs down to the river and then the river's going to flood. I had moved here in December of 96. Well, February of 97, there was like this, I went out to dinner with some friends and didn't really think about any flooding or anything because I'm not from an area that did that. So I couldn't even find my way home. This is in the days really before GPS and all that. So there was parts of the expressway that were closed. I ended up to get home because I lived in southern Indiana at the time. I ended up following a car that had southern Indiana plates, and luckily they were going home, so I was able to kind of get there, but otherwise I would have been lost. But flooding can be a concern. So, if that's something that's going to bother you, then, you want to stay away from the river, go to the higher lands. We do have friends that live on the river. They accept it. They know it's going to flood every 5 or 6 years. They prepare for it. They kind of have me on a speed dial to come get their stuff. They put it in storage for a week, we bring it back. I mean, it's kind of almost a cyclical thing with them. So, just people prepare, because if they like the river, we have moved people that love the river. They moved from out in the country to the river, and they moved to the Indiana side, but they just love the river. They're boat people in that sense. They call themselves, the river people. So if you averse to flooding, I'm not crazy about it, so I don't know that I would want to be somewhere on the river that was an issue, or in the some of the areas that have those concerns, because I would worry about my memorabilia of things from my dad or my grandparents or things like that. So just consider that, and if you do like the river, then maybe make sure you put all that stuff in a high place in your house. 7, the weather, they say it varies a lot, and it can be literally. It is 59 today, but yet yesterday was 39. It's just varies a lot. I look at that as a good thing because if you don't like it, wait 15 minutes, it's going to change, right? But we truly do have all 4 seasons. But even within those seasons, things can be, change a lot. So it's not like in Florida where things are the same every day. Or, my aunt lived in Hawaii and she was on the mainland, the Big Island, excuse me. And it was like between 70 and 80 every day, rarely rained. It just was the same weather every day. And that's got to be kind of cool. But I'm a person that probably like variety. So the weather changing doesn't bother me, but it does bother some people. They don't know how to plan, so they tell you when you watch news in the morning, hey, plan to take your raincoat today, or take, you'll need a heavy jacket now, but light jacket later in the afternoon. So if variety is not your thing, then maybe you don't want to come here. Number 8 in I thought this was funny when I took a poll just to see, what other people don't like about living here. One person said they felt that the insurance is high, the car insurance. With the 11th, they said the 11th highest in the United States. And I believe that, though I do. I just don't pay attention because you got to pay it, right? You don't have a choice. But I know when I moved here from Wisconsin, it was crazy high compared to what I had been paying. I think I was young. I was in my 20s and was paying like $50 a month for full coverage on a Mustang and had a 20 over speeding ticket. So if that tells you anything, the insurance here is a lot higher. So um, that's something you're going to have to deal with if you move to the area. Number 9 would be crime. I think that this is where you really want to be specific and particular about where you live. You have to know what are your comfort levels. Now, my comfort level is that, I carry, I am aware, and I can live anywhere. You can put me in the worst neighborhood in Louisville and I will be fine. I will make sure I have a security system and I will make some provisions if I had to live there, in that situation. But some people are just not built for that. And then you just want to make sure that you find a neighborhood that works for your personality, your tolerance levels, your security, your safety. It also depends, do you have small children? Do you want them to play outside? That does gear a lot of people where they live. Are there other kids in the neighborhood? If it's gated community, obviously you're going to have less crime. If it's one way in, one way out, even, you're going to have less people being able to drive through and do dumb stuff. So but that's where you really want to have an agent that knows what they're doing, can help you with those navigating those waters. And my number 10 reason that you would not want to move to Louisville, Kentucky. And before I give that to you, I need you to go ahead and like my page or like my YouTube channel, comment, share it, subscribe would be great. And again, my name is Margaret Weathers with Coldwell Banker McMahon, and my number is 502-664-9971. And again, my number 10 reason would be politics. It's a very weird state, in my opinion, because the city of Louisville proper, which is also Jefferson County, is very Democratic. I mean, they haven't had a Republican mayor in a lot of years. I want to say 30, 40 years. It's a lot. I've read it the other day, and I'm sorry I don't have the exact number. We just elected a mayor, and he's a Democrat, and the Republican mayor candidate actually ran a good race and was close, but it didn't make it. And he was strong because he was a mayor of J-Town, which is one of the suburbs of Louisville. And he ran a really strong race. But it's really tough if you are a Republican, because it's pretty Democratic in the city. However, when you get outside of Jefferson County, it is all Republican, very Republican. So there's this tug of war between the two different factions, if you will, of how policies are, because the state at large, as who our senator is Mitch McConnell, very Republican, but yet Louisville as a city is very Democratic. So, if you don't like politics, I'm not trying to stay out of it, I guess, but you'll just have to pick your poison. Maybe, don't live in Jefferson County, live in Oldham County, which is, just northeast of Louisville. So hopefully that helps you. I appreciate you watching my videos and commenting. Anything I can do to help you make your journey and transfer here successful, I'd be glad to help. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.